Well, here we are at the tail end of summer and getting ready for fall. The weather's already starting to change as the days are getting longer and the mornings are getting colder. So we're at the tail end of our garden season as well. So I thought I'd take a little time today to kind of show you around how our garden did this year and kind of talk about what the pluses were and the minuses. We certainly had a lot more pluses this year than we did negatives. All of our vegetables did really well. Some a little bit better than others as far as starting indoors versus outdoor seeds. Learned some lessons there for sure. Got a technique from one of the homesteaders that we know regarding starting the seeds, putting them in a napkin, a wet napkin, and putting them in the window early on so they start to germinate before we start planting inside. So that's something I'll try this next coming season. But all of our starts, with the exception of the cucumbers, did extremely well with the indoor stuff. Outdoor vegetables did pretty well for starting out there, although like the watermelons, we're going to have to definitely start indoors so they have a little bit longer growing time than we've had this season. The one big surprise was our mushroom experiment. The indoor stuff was more for fun. We did pretty well with those, and we'll do some different growing next season with the blue oysters and with the lion's mane mushrooms. We'll definitely do some different outdoor stuff with those. But the Italian oyster mushroom experiment, by putting the bales in the corner of the yard, did extremely well for us all the way around. I'm really blown away by how well those did. And we're going to, next year, I think I'm going to construct a metal basket a little higher and put the straw in there so we get a better growing pattern than we did this year. Obviously they're prolific growers and did extremely well, so something we're going to continue to work on. So come along today as we walk through the last bit of our garden season for 2021. Well, we had a pretty good run with this is our first round of picking tomatoes. And we had two different varieties that we did. We did Juan Flame tomatoes, which are kind of this apricot colored orange, and then the Glacier tomatoes, which are more of a standard red tomato. Both are the same size, kind of a smaller variety of tomato. And so we've done this. I think next year I'm going to also plant some larger Roma style tomatoes and see what we get with that. But overall this year with our tomato has been great. We haven't had the same issues we had last year with heat and our tomatoes splitting. We've kept a pretty good eye on those, and so got a little bit longer. We've got still quite a few green ones that have yet to ripen, but just a few more weeks left before we start moving into fall. So we'll keep an eye on it and see how we do with that. But overall, pretty happy with the turnout on what we did with tomatoes this year. Well, we've had great luck with our zucchini plants this year. So far, we've taken about 40 zucchini off the 3 little plants that we have. So I really like this variety. I think it's done pretty well for us, and we've had opportunity to freeze quite a bit of it. So what we'll do with these as well. Still got a little bit of grow time on those, but I expect that they're at the end of their production. But anyway, certainly a plant I'm going to grow next year for sure. Broccoli was certainly something new that we started this year, and while it did grow pretty well and the bugs managed to not eat it all, we had a little bit of bug issues, but not many. I will not be growing broccoli again next year. We got a little bit off of this, but it takes one single plant like this to grow just 1 or 2 spears of broccoli, and I could utilize this space more for something like cauliflower or cabbage that would actually produce more items than just the broccoli did. All the leaves are edible, and we've made some wraps with them. Just not enough production from the plant to validate my using it again next year. Although this type does grow pretty well here in this region, and with an early start, so we started the seeds indoors in spring for this set, and this set was started as seeds and came up okay, but really didn't produce as well. So it's better to start them indoors, at least in our climate, in order to do that next year. When you talk about pests, a little bit different. One issue that we've dealt with is caterpillars and pests, and I'm not big on spraying pesticides and different things. I'd rather lose some leaves and some stuff and keep it as organic and pure as possible. Our onions did pretty well. You can see we've pulled quite a few out to use along the summer here, and we still got a couple more to go this year before we pull these up. They're still a little bit small, and so we'll let them go another couple weeks, at least before the first frost. We'll go ahead and pull these up and utilize them. Our later onions we'll have for winter we'll actually get through our cooperative farming that we'll do at the end of the month. We'll go to one of the local producers, the Harlequin Produce, and pick up stuff from the CSA there for our winter stuff. Watermelons this year were an experiment. These are Bozeman watermelons, and as you can see, they're coming up pretty well, but with what remains of the time for the growing season, a few more weeks before we head into fall fully and start getting into the morning frosts. I'm not sure if they're going to ripen before we get there, or if it's something that will not happen this year. Certainly something I'm going to start indoor next year in this early spring in order to get a better start on it, but they're certainly growing out pretty well, and I've got a few of them started on here. Cucumbers, on the other hand, while they started to produce, we had started 3 plants indoors in the spring, and unfortunately those 3 didn't like the soil, or something happened to them, so they died out early. So I started these from seeds. They did come back pretty well, but I don't believe that they're going to produce enough before frost hits. We're keeping an eye on them and seeing, but we're kind of at the last bits of that, and we'll see what happens with our plants here. Since we do have a small garden, that we are able to preserve some items. Most of it is used by Colleen and I during the summer. So we supplement that by working or being part of a community supported agriculture, or CSA. So today we're headed down to the neighboring town of Arlee to go and pick up what they call a summer super sale for canning. And so for $100 we're picking up 60 pounds of tomatoes, a 5-pound thing of bell peppers, a 5-pound thing of roasted bell peppers, which will freeze a lot of those, and then a 1-pound thing of onions to do some of our canning. And then at the end of October, we do a winter stock up sale, which will be potatoes and some other things. And that too is $100 to purchase to buy into that. It supports the farm in their pre-growing season and allows us to get stuff to store over winter and utilize. It's potatoes, it's onions, cabbage, and things like that we can either freeze or that has a long life in a cool, dark place. So come along as we head to Arlee to go pick up some produce. For over 25 years, community-supported agriculture has become a popular way for consumers to buy local, seasonal food directly from a farmer. So here are some of the basics. A farmer offers a certain number of shares to the public. Typically, the shares consist of a box of vegetables, but other farm products may be included. Interested consumers purchase a share, aka a membership or a subscription, and in return receive a box, bag, or basket of seasonal produce each week throughout the farming season. This arrangement creates several rewards for both the farmer and the consumer. For us, we participate in flash sales and the winter subscriptions as we're growing our own stuff. But it's a great way for us to supplement what we do currently.
Nice. Those are a lot.
The advantages for consumers mean that you get to eat ultra fresh food with the flavor and vitamin benefits. You get exposed to new vegetables and new ways of cooking, and usually get to visit the farm at least once a season. You can also find kid-friendly, typical flavored foods from their farm, even veggies they've never been known to eat. And you develop relationships with the farmers who grow your food and learn more about how your food is grown. It's a simple enough idea, but its impact has been profound. Tens of thousands of families have enjoyed CSAs, and in some areas of the country, there's more demand than there are CSA farms to fill it. The government, however, does not track CSAs, so there's no official count of how many of them are around in the United States. One website, Local Harvest, has the most comprehensive directory of CSA farms for you to locate, over 4,000 farms listed in their grassroots database.